Hello, everybody. It's good to see your faces again after a few months. We'll give it just another minute or two for people to join. I know we had about 40 people registered, so we'll give them maybe 1 or 2 more minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Stein. This is Faramarz Mokhtari. I just want to let you know, so I'm going to be in the background. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining.
Hi, FM.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good.
Nice to see you again.
Always nice to see you. We miss you at our RPAC meetings.
Thank you. That's nice to hear.
Okay, there's no one else in the waiting room, Mike.
Okay, we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. I'm Mike Stein, the president of Twinbrook Community Association, for a few more minutes at least. This meeting serves as our annual election of officers meeting, but we also have a full agenda where we will be awarding the Twinbrooker of the Year in just a few moments. And we also have several guests from the city of Rockville to update us on what's going on with the pedestrian connector, as well as our usual police and city of Rockville updates. We always want to be mindful of our guest speakers' time. So with that, I guess we can go ahead and dive in. Lou Callis, our current treasurer, is not, he might be able to join later on, but he wasn't able to join for the beginning. So I'll start with the treasurer's report that he forwarded to me. So all state and federal tax filings are filed and up to date. It is tax season. More exciting, we currently have $1,452 in our bank account. We've received a few payments just in the last few days, and that's actually not reflected in this total. So that's great to hear. We've had 41 people since last October, when I think we started kind of our push reminding people to, join or pay their dues. And we've had 41 people either join or renew their membership since October, and several people who actually, donated above and beyond the $12 just out of the goodness of their heart. So that is great because even though we don't have very many expenses, there are things that we would like to support and put on in the next year, like our TCA picnic. We have several ideas about outreach, which I think Marissa will talk about in just a second. And to do that, we need all that cost money. So thank you to everybody who has paid their dues in the last few months. We were also notified by the city today that we were awarded a community matching grant. So every year, Rockville community organizations in the city of Rockville can apply for a matching grant and you put forward ideas on how you would improve your neighborhood. So Marissa put in the application for TCA a couple of months ago. We found out today that we were awarded the matching grant. We don't know the full amount yet or the details. We'll find that out in the next day or two. But I thought maybe Marissa could just report out on what the grant is and what we hope to do with it in the coming year.
Yeah, so just a quick overview, and we can go into more detail, and we can push that out through the Twine. We decided that a big focus for us, emerging into the new reality, I will not say post-COVID, I will just say a new reality, is to find new ways of connecting and creating community. I think that a lot of our efforts to try to grow, our membership and to connect more people, it suffered during the time of COVID. And definitely for myself as an organizer, it was a struggle to not be able to knock doors and talk to people face to face. So we developed a application for the community matching grants that would kind of amplify our outreach over the next 12 months. It would provide funding for our infrastructure. So things like our technology needs, our website, and some of the functionality there that, right now, we could definitely use a little bit more funding to kind of beef that up. We're also looking at doing some traditional outreach. Direct mail is a big part of this, and there's a huge expense behind direct mail. And so that was a big part of this. We're also looking at not only having our I think it should become an annual summer picnic, but looking at a back to school event, a way for the community to get together before Twinbrook Parkway is crushed with kids heading over to Meadow Hall, and Ardennes becomes crushed with kids headed to Twinbrook Elementary. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Like I said, I can put out more information on the Twine, but it was a labor of love, and I'll be excited to see how much we got, and that'll really then be reflected in exactly how much of this plan that we pulled together that we'll be able to do.
I can tell you how much you got.
All right.
$100. The
much?
full amount requested.
No way.
Yeah, it's way.
Awesome.
Yay.
Good news.
You see,
That's
that's
really
why I
good
have to
news.
come to the meeting for good news.
Thanks, Hjarman.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you,
All right.
Hjarman.
Congratulations.
And with that,
Thank
that
you.
is a great segue to the next topic, City of Rockville update, traditionally delivered by Hjarman. So floor is yours.
Here you go. Let me mute myself. Thank you so much for having the meeting. A lot of things happening in the city. Let me start with, for those who are very faithful and coming to the meeting tonight, I want to let you know that the city is having a Red Gate Park public meeting tonight. Actually is happening via Zoom, but do not worry, because right on Red Gate, and I heard this weekend is going to be beautiful, at 10 a.m. to noon on Saturday, April 23rd, you will also be able to be in this in-person meeting conducted in an open house format with exhibits that will provide information about the proposed concept, and staff will be available to answer questions and receive any comments. No formal meeting, no formal presentation. All discussions are planned. Visitors are encouraged to arrive at the leisure between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. So please come and join us. And with that, it's a great segue to say Happy Earth Day. It's going to be on Earth Day on April 22nd, and Rockville has an important environmental milestone to celebrate this year. Rockville joined the ranks of hundreds of U.S. cities on January 10th as the mayor and council approved the city's first plan for addressing climate change. The city has planned a series of activities to celebrate Earth Day, been happening already, and they will continue all the way through the month of May. The City Human Rights Commission presents its annual Idea Leadership Workshop for students on April 23rd. This is for high school students and for college students. IDEA stands for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access. The workshop is open to students living and attending Rockville area high schools, as I said before, or Montgomery College, Rockville campus. So please encourage your students. You can also earn SSL hours and make great connections to other people who wants to make some differences on the area of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. I heard that we are talking today about pedestrian safety and the master plan and all of that. So you can join the city's efforts to increase the safety of pedestrians by completing the pedestrian master plan survey. It is on the website. I will share the link with you in a few minutes. And I think, it's very important to do that. Students can also earn SSL hours by completing this survey. So please go ahead and check it out, and join many other people who has also shared their ideas of how we can improve the pedestrian experience in the city of Rockville. Couple more things I want to share with you all is Pride Month. This year will be in June. The City of Rockville's Human Rights Commission will celebrate the 6th annual Rockville Pride with a virtual event on Sunday, June 5th, and a celebration in Rockville Town Square Park from 2 to 4 p.m. on Sunday, June 26th of this year. So please join us either virtually or in person, whatever feels more comfortable for you and your family, and participate on this event as well. Also, for those interested in art, Visart is having their annual Rockville Art Festival on Saturday and Sunday, May 7 and 8, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Rockville Town Square. This is a great opportunity to actually have this amazing event. It's a free outdoor event that will feature 130 fine artists and artisans showcasing their one-of-a-kind creation, live music, cultural performances, art demonstration, food trucks, wine, craft beers, and more. So if you're looking to have an activity with the family, come and join us on May 7 and 8 at the Town Square Park. And the last thing that I want to share with you is that in honor of Earth Day, the city is also having sorry, I lost my information here and I lost the tracker, as I was saying. Yeah, Spring Community Outdoor Yard Sale. That will be on Saturday, May 21st, from 8 a.m. to noon at Richard Montgomery High School parking lot. The city has teamed up with Montgomery County and the City of Rockville Environmental Department to help you think green when you spring clean. As you're looking for your treasures to sell, grab your all incandescent compact fluorescents for up to 3 LED light bulbs and have them swapped out for free. Vendors who wants to participate in the yard sale needs to pre-register to secure a space. I will put more information on the chat, so you will be able to go into the registration site and find out more about, how much it's gonna cost, what you're gonna get, and etc. And of course, last thing is that I want to share with you all is that the city will be having its annual Good Neighbor Awards. Deadline for submitting your candidates, I will say, to present your submissions for the Good Neighbor Awards is May 16 of this year. I will put more information so you can go onto the website, read the specific information for the award, the submissions, what we're looking to do. We're doing something different this year. We are categorizing the awards. So we're encouraging people to actually maybe think outside the box and highlight in your submission people that have done something unique. Even if you are a student and somebody else at your school who has done something different, please, this is your opportunity to celebrate a classmate, not just a neighbor, but please visit us on our website. We'll put all the information, all those links on the chat, and thank you again for having me. Congratulations on that amazing empowerment grant. I know it's going to be super well used, and you guys had a really nice project, very diverse, very inclusive. And that's what we would like to see, and that's what the city stands for. So we're here to support you.
Thanks, Hjarman.
My pleasure.
Update. Anybody have any questions for Hjarman? Vincent.
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Hjarman, for these messages. One question just about the as Marissa mentioned, we're thinking about having another community picnic. Last year we had it at Calvin Park and we went through the Parks and Recs department. Is that something we should be going through you for as a community liaison for securing the park space, or they mentioned last time that sometimes it's done through community liaisons, but
that's something, if you want to do that, you can actually do it. If you already have a relationship, somebody, a point of contact, even through the community center, you can actually do that as well. So multiple ways to do that. So, the city's here to provide you guys with the support that you need to continue growing your connectivity with your neighbors and celebrating the community. So yeah, you can say it to me, or if you're already doing it directly with Rec and Parks, or you can just cut the third man, through to that one. So it's up to you, Vincent.
okay.
But I'm here. If you need my assistance, my help, absolutely.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
James,
All
I think I saw your hand go up. Oh. Any other questions? No.
Sarah
All right.
Salazar.
Sarah's got her hand.
Oh, Sarah.
Sarah.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Sarah.
Hey,
Hey, Sarah.
I just wanted to ask really quick, is the event at Redgate on Saturday outside or inside?
It's gonna be outdoor. I do believe it's outside.
Okay, just wanted to check. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? If not, we can move along to our, we're also joined by Major England from the Rockville City Police Department, who will provide our Twinbrook public safety update.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I've been asked by the board to give you an update, breakdown of our, excuse me, our crime incidents for the month of March. I do send Marissa and Mike monthly a report, and I'm just going to report out on that to let you guys know what's happening in the last month. We're still seeing incidents of theft of catalytic converters. Matter of fact, that was our biggest number of complaints or calls in the Twinbrook community. We actually had 3 of those reports during the month of March. 2 other reports were theft from autos, and again, we continue to see those. We did have one individual who found a couple of individuals inside their truck during the early morning hours, and they were able to chase these folks away. They got away in an SUV. So if you see folks driving around early in the morning in vehicles, give us a call. We'll check it out to make sure that it's up and up. But that apparently is a trend where we're seeing vehicles, cruise through neighborhoods in the early morning hours. Our midnight patrol officers are aware of this. We have done proactive patrols of the neighborhoods to try to stem this issue or problem, not only in Twinbrook, but King Farm and other areas of the city. So once again, as I said, if anybody sees anything, you give us a call and we'll definitely check it out. A couple of other events that were happening. One was a domestic assault and another one was a DUI in Twinbrook. That basically is it for the month of March. April, so far, we've seen we're halfway through, well, a little bit better than halfway through the month of April. We've seen 3 incidents on the Twinbrook bike path. One where we did arrest I'll take that back. The first incident earlier this month was we did arrest one individual. We found him asleep on the bike path. He didn't want to cooperatively move along, so we basically had to escort him, and he decided that he wanted to kick and assault the officers, so he was charged criminally for assaulting the officers. Just this past, I guess it was Sunday, the 7th, about 12:30 a.m. We had one individual who was accosted on the bike path by another individual. He said something indistinguishable. He wasn't robbed. He wasn't assaulted or anything that way of that nature, but he did, the individual did have a knife, didn't threaten him with the knife. He just basically had it in his hand. Individual left, and that was basically it. These individuals, we think they came from the billiard, the pool hall, if you will. That's the rear of Twinbrook Mart. And that was basically it. There was no injuries or anything in that nature. And then one that would just happen recently, it was about 12:30 p.m. on Sunday. We had an individual that was threatened by 2 other individuals. Both individuals were brandishing knives. We were able to locate and arrest one individual. The other suspect made good their escape, if you will, but eventually, for some reason, they came back to the area. The victim pointed that individual out. We made contact with that person, found out he had a small cut, even though he was one of the assailants. He had a small cut on his hand, and he was transferred to the hospital. We had required a couple of stitches in his knuckle, and charges will be placed upon this individual by getting a warrant for him. And that was it. The actual victim in this matter was able to get away, and they weren't injured at all, so which was a good thing. But again, that happened about 12:30 Sunday afternoon, and that's basically it for the crime report, and that catches us up pretty much for the month of April.
Thank you. And just for everybody, in case you don't know, like Major England said, he does send those stats to us every month, and we do post those on our website. Marissa, I think, just posted the most recent one a couple days ago, and then we usually push those out through Facebook and Nextdoor, and usually we'll make a comment about it on the Twine. So those are always available, and you can go back and look through past records. So anybody have any questions for Major England? No. All right, you get off easy this month,
I guess, yeah. It's
Great.
always a pleasure. I do appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. You guys have a good evening.
You too.
All right. Well, we are moving along at a pretty good clip here. So we'll move on to our next topic, which is Twinbrooker of the Year. So TCA, we continue to focus on recognizing members of our community, those who go out of their way to make our neighborhood a better place. I think we all know that we have so many amazing neighbors who put in the effort on a monthly, weekly, and sometimes even daily basis to improve Twinbrook. Many of us know a neighbor that someone who picks up trash in the street or keeps our parks and streams clean. We have neighbors who keep an eye on their street and report any issues. And those are just a few of the examples. And often these neighbors, they work for the betterment of Twinbrook without drawing attention to themselves. But we think those neighbors deserve recognition. And so one way we recognize those who contribute so much is through our Twinbrooker of the Year award. And this year's winner, drum roll please, Chuck Woolery, is someone many of you have known for many years. Others, like myself, we've just gotten to know Chuck recently on our TCA walk and talks, where Chuck has shared his knowledge and passion for educating neighbors about non-native invasive species. Chuck is known to give fascinating lectures to the group on invasive species like porcelain berry. He's also known to bring some very impressive and sharp tools to take down those offending weeds. And we all stand back, in my case, way back, and watch and wonder. But there is more to Chuck than a single-minded, machete-wielding destroyer of non-native invasive species. Chuck has many passions, and he's helped the community in a myriad ways over the years. And if you will, I'd like to take a moment to highlight some of the other ways Chuck has helped our community, as written by those who know Chuck best. Carol Hannaford has written and says that Chuck has written a number of letters to the Washington Post on human rights and environmental issues. 3 of them have been published in the last 2 years. Chuck has made a number of trips to Haiti to help in disaster areas where he did a handyman project for us last year. And as an outcome of that is, rather than Carol paying him, he wanted us to make a donation to a Haitian charity, which we did. For a few years, he and Carol, participated with a peacekeeping group at Montgomery College. And as part of that, he gave formal presentations on the campus. Wayne Breslin writes about Chuck. While I've only known Chuck 3 years, I'm continually amazed with all of the things he does in our Twinbrook community and beyond. His work with the Weed Warriors program is helping preserve the natural spaces in our parks, especially Calvin Park and Twinbrook Park, while providing service learning for hundreds of young people. In addition to leading the effort to remove invasive plants from Twinbrook and beyond, Chuck's encouragement, ideas, and connections to other members of our community were instrumental in keeping Redgate apart. When the city announced that Redgate Golf Course was closing and its future as a public green space was in question, Chuck helped form Friends of Redgate Park to advocate for the former golf course to become a park. Today, residents can enjoy the city's newest park, home to over 166 species of birds, as well as pollinators, other animals, and a wide variety of native plants. I would also like to note Chuck's efforts at Woolery Park, that is Chuck's yard. His leadership by example in his own yard demonstrates that how a resident can support nature while being an asset to the community. Ann Goodman, last year's Twinbrooker of the Year, writes, Chuck Woolery is a force for nature and a force in general in the city of Rockville. He considers much of the work he does as community service, such as Weed Warrior. He considers much of the work he does like community service and weed water to be exercise. Therefore, he maintains his health while helping the environment. He encourages, teaches, and supervises adult and young colleagues to assist in his activities, thereby providing a service to both humans and the environment. This also builds a sense of community. He has my undying respect for his work in creating the Rockville Weed Warrior program and organizing Weed Warrior workdays. He has successfully solicited the support of city staff in his endeavors, and together they created an organizational framework that serves Rockville's environment and its residents in a unique way. Chuck is also a good friend and a talented person. He helps his neighbors with many projects that serve their needs and improve their properties. Examples include building storage rooms for potter's wares, designing and laying down granite walkways for a native plant yard, stump removal, tree and bush trimming, fence building, and myriad other things that enhance the beauty and utility of people's homes and yards. Chuck focuses on work with young people. He is a high school wrestling coach, and he encourages young folks to get involved with the Weed Warrior program. He stresses that removing invasive plants from natural areas is a healthy way for young people to get exercise and become involved in the environment. Can you talk to my kids after this call, Chuck? He set up the program so that participants can earn SSL hours. Weed Warrior activities are also often a family event with parents working side by side with their kids, something good for the family, the community, the region, and the young person. He is deeply involved in efforts to recycle and reuse all sorts of material. He built the first fence for the native plant garden at the Croydon Creek Nature Center out of materials he had stored in his basement. He has built beautiful walkways and benches out of granite left over from cutting granite countertops. He collected the granite that was discarded after the counters were cut, keeping it out of the landfill. Design and execution of the paths was lovely, and the granite top benches are a delight. Chuck is passionate about public health issues and the Constitution. He shares his views in many venues, including Facebook and in letters to the Washington Post, some of which get published. It is a pleasure to know Chuck Woolery and be part of his community circle, and I'm proud to provide the testimony in support of his election of TCA's Twinbrooker of the Year. So, like the neighbors who took time to write and supported Chuck's nomination, TCA greatly appreciates Chuck and his tireless and selfless efforts to make our neighborhood and community a better place to live. As highlighted by Chuck's friends and neighbors, Chuck is a humanitarian, an environmentalist, and an advocate for youth. Chuck is always ready to help a neighbor with a project. He is selfless and charitable. In recognition for everything he's done and continues to do for Twinbrook, we name Chuck Woolery Twinbrooker of the Year for 2021. See if I can get my little certificate here for you. So in addition to that beautiful frameable certificate, TCA will make a $100 donation to help those at the Rock Creek Woods apartments impacted by last year's flooding from the remnants of Hurricane Ida. I did reach out to Chuck beforehand, and he was very clear. He wanted the donation to remain in Twinbrook and help those who lost property or loved ones. Yet another example of Chuck's selflessness and generosity. So thank you, Chuck, from all of us for being such a wonderful neighbor.
Thank you. No, wow. No, thanks. I was trying to figure out what I was going to say, and my wife came in and said, she said, "I'm so proud of you." And I thought, wow, 45 years of happy marriage, and that's the first time that's ever happened. Thank you very much. Anyway, no, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Anyone else wants to chime in on any Chuck stories?
My very short addition is Chuck is the reason that I now pull up a whole bunch of the little mustard plants that pop up in my yard all the time. And he's the reason that I spent years fighting English ivy in my backyard. So thank you, Chuck, kind of. Thank you on one hand. Last year I had my older daughter. We went around and we found all the little plants, and I had her run around and pull up the little mustard plant seeds that came up before they seeded out, and I gave her a dime for each one. And Chuck, you outed me for like $12 to my daughter. So I owed my kid a lot after that. But thanks, Chuck, for everything you do, man.
And Ruth has her hand up.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I was biking on the Twinbrook bike path, and I saw a guy sawing a fallen tree that had blocked the path, and I stopped and we started chatting, and he was using a handsaw to cut this really thick branch. So we started chatting. He gave me his business card, and then I said, "Wouldn't it be easier to use a chainsaw?" And he's like, "A chainsaw? That's not how you're supposed to do it. You do it naturally. You do it with your muscle." And so I really appreciated that he did that. He was just biking by. He had the saw in his bag, and he saw something that needed to be done, and he did it. So thank you, Chuck, for everything you do. So when is the next walk and talk?
It will be well, I guess maybe next weekend. I guess is next next Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to make it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You send out a reminder.
Yeah, I was remiss. I normally send out the reminder, but with spring break and just everything going on, it slipped my mind. So I will definitely be sending that out soon. So be on the lookout. Yeah.
I had a quick Chuck
Sure.
anecdote. Well, first off, if to one up James, I believe it is the last two Twinbrookers of the Year award winners that have now got me, let's see, not only cursing Creeping Charlie, but also, it's the worst, but also replanting, taking out all the non-native grass yard that I have and putting in native plants. And both you and Anne are absolute, and Carol. There's like this triangle in Twinbrook of like just amazing folks. And Ann Goodman did not pay me to say this, so I just wanted to plug that. But Chuck, like one of the first years I think that I moved in here, I forgot what we were even doing. I think we were looking at putting a fence in or trying to figure out our yard, and Chuck came over and had all these great ideas. And of course we were overwhelmed and we ended up going in a different direction, but Chuck,
gardening and maybe some workspace could be helpful there.
I'm like,
somebody.
who is that?
Oh,
I'm muting Anne because Anne is multitasking and is listening in on another meeting that we heard. But anyway, Chuck just brought like such a positive spirit to it, and just this amazing can-do attitude that I will fully admit in the moment I didn't appreciate, but now I can completely appreciate, and I just want to honor that. And he always offers SSL hours for my son. And I'm telling you right now, Chuck, like he's in a very dire straits. So he will be spending most of the summer with you. So you'll get to know him very well. So thank you, Chuck.
Well, I'll just take this opportunity to invite, when Hometown Holidays comes, I'm going to try to do a nature walk from Calvin Park straight to Redgate through the John Forest Preserve. And if anybody wants their kids to get SSL hours and a walk up to it, invite them. We'll start.
I love that idea. And maybe through our pack and through our beloved Rockville City PD, we could even get an escort so we could safely cross 28 to get to the other side, because that is a very dangerous, but I love it.
Crosswalk they have built right there, a crosswalk and a push button. You can push to stop the light. So it's please.
No one pays attention to that. And I don't want nothing to happen to our Twinbrookers. I don't want anything to happen to anybody, but no, you are a neighborhood treasure. Must be kept safe.
All right. Anyone else? If not, congratulations, Chuck. This is a most well-deserved award. And like Marissa said, you are a Twinbrook treasure. Maybe that's what we should start calling the award. And we appreciate everything that you do. And I will make sure to get you this certificate here pretty soon. So thanks, Chuck.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving along. So we are, we'll receive an update from city staff on the Twinbrook pedestrian bicycle connector. And just as background for those of you who might be new to this issue, this is it's been a long time request of the neighborhood. I know it goes back at least to 2009 when the last Twinbrook neighborhood plan was created. And it's certainly been a focus of the executive committee for the last few years. You know, as we see Rockville Pike redevelop, Twinbrook Quarter coming on board, you know, it really became apparent just how disconnected our neighborhood has been from the metro or from the developments on the other side of the metro. So, you know, unlike really any other neighborhood north or south of here, you know, the tracks really serve as a barrier. So, you know, White Flint is right there on the tracks. The tracks aren't really a barrier. They have a tunnel underneath. You know, Rockville has the pedestrian crossing over 355. Their major intersection street into the neighborhood, you know, crosses 355, and there used to be 2 pedestrian bridges. Now I think just one. You know, and King Farm's also not cut off by the track. So it's been something that we have been advocating for with the city. Last year we were successful getting it as a CIP to do a feasibility study. And that is what we're here, I think, to hear update from with the city. You know, where are we at with that study? What are the next steps? And, you know, what do we need to know? So with that, I will turn it over to Craig Simoneau, who's the Director of Public Works. So I believe also has Faramarz, who's the project manager.
Thank you, Mike. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. I'm having problems with my laptop. So first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me, and especially want to thank you for choosing tonight, because that other meeting that everybody was talking about at Redgate, I would have been there if I wasn't here. So thank you for giving me a 2-in-1 night.
Yeah.
Thank you for that background. As you correctly stated, this project first made it into the CIP in last year's 2021, the adopted master plan, which gave $50,000 for a feasibility study. It also was in the 2040 comprehensive plan. So from that point forward, Faramarz Mokhtari, who was with me tonight, is the project manager. You'll probably be hearing from him moving forward as we bring updates to the community and seek community input in this project. Hopefully it moves forward to construction and we see each other several more times. So I have some good news to bring. It seems like tonight's a meeting of good news. You got a community matching grant. You got a Twinbrook of the Year award. I swear, I thought you were talking about 3 people on that list, and you were talking about 1. Oh my Lord. So good news is the mayor and council have sent signals to city staff. And if I don't catch it the first time, I usually catch it the second or third. And so what we have done since it's made into the 2021 CIP is we have taken steps now to try to hurry this project along about as fast as we can. And I'm going to tell you how we're doing that. First, we went out to get proposals, design proposals, basically feasibility proposals for the bridge. And instead of just going for feasibility, we said we'll take feasibility up to 30% design. All right, so we took a little bit of liberties there. A lot of times feasibility is 5 or 10% design. And so we took a little liberties and said, let's go for 30%. We went over the amount of money we had in the CIP. And so we went back and started talking about getting more money. And the mayor and council signal to us that, why is this taking so long? Well, there's plenty of reasons why it's taking so long. If you count 2009 as so long, 2021, perhaps not as long. And so this is what we have done since that time. We have asked the mayor and council to appropriate $350,000 more money. That's $350,000 plus the $50,000 that's already approved in the FY 2021 budget. And last night, the mayor and council approved that extra $350,000. We're anticipating this $400,000 now being able to perhaps get us all the way to 100% design. Okay, so we have the money. It is not FY23 money that's coming to us. It's current year FY22 money. Okay, so we should have it as soon as finance does their magic in the budget and moves it over into our account. So that's very good news. It doesn't get better than that, really, from the mayor and council's funding point of view. And what we've done on the consultants' proposals is Faramarz and I have collaborated on this thing quite extensively. I joked with him. I think he was talking to me for every single day for a straight week, and he said 2 or 3 times a day. And so this is what we have decided to do. We have decided to go back out to those consultants who gave us proposals on the feasibility of 30% and ask them to give us a new proposal. And the proposal is same proposal to 30%, but add an optional item to take us all the way to 100%. That way there, we don't have to go back out for proposals. We have the option right in our back pocket. And should we have a good feasibility study, should we find a good location, should the mayor and council say go, we can just tell the consultant, go do 100% and keep moving. Okay, so that's now back with the consultants, and the proposals are due the beginning of May for evaluation. Okay, so you can see while we're getting the additional money, we're asking for new proposals to get everything ready to go. Okay, basically we're going to be given the green light to take this all the way from feasibility to 30% all the way to 100% design. Okay. There is one small problem though. We don't have any city land on either side of the railroad tracks to put the bridge. Okay, so part of the feasibility study is to find that location. Okay, that is the key reason why we're doing the feasibility study here. A lot of times you do feasibility studies because you don't know if it'll work. You don't know if you have enough right away. You don't know this, you don't know that. And there's a degree of, well, we kind of know we can build a bridge. Matter of fact, Faramarz has gone back and forth working on some concepts of this thing. We know we can build a bridge. The question is, can we build a bridge in a location that makes it all work and clear the tracks? And there's a lot of technicalities here. We got to get up above the CSX and WMATA tracks to a certain height, and then we got to make it ADA accessible on each side. That means either elevators or ramps. Okay, usually those are the 2 options. So we're going to go through the proposals and the study and get that all figured out. But I just want to be cautious to everybody that there is no specified location, and the city is going to have to obtain property to make this bridge happen. Okay, and that is not easy because there's no big vacant land on either side. Now, what are we doing to advance that? We are talking to BF Sol. We have been talking to them quite extensively. Matter of fact, we had a meeting with them on April 1st and to talk about this again. They're on a slightly different sheet of music as us. They're more interested in bringing the people to the Twinbrook Metro Station, further toward Twinbrook Parkway. We're more interested in splitting the difference between Edmonston and Twinbrook to get the residents in the neighborhood over on the other side of the tracks to Twinbrook Quarter, but also to Rockville Pike, because as we all know, we're building some shared use paths on Rockville Pike. Rockville Pike is developing, plus to get up and down the pike. So we have slightly different interests that we're gonna, they've agreed to work with us during the feasibility study to see where we land on a location and to see if they can work with us to try to find a spot. Now, the good news is they don't have site plan approval for all their sites. So they have to come back through the planning commission. And when a developer has to come back to a planning commission of the mayor and council, staff gets to take a little bit of flesh, if you would, as they come back in through. So I informed them quite bluntly that the Twinbrook community was very interested in this bridge. And if they would cooperate to help make this bridge happen, I'm sure Twinbrook would be looking very favorably upon their next site plans, et cetera, and may even speak in favor of them if they were so nice as to help make this happen. So they know that you want it and we're working with them, but the location is the big unknown. So where are we going from here? We're going to take the proposals in beginning of May. We're going to evaluate them. We're going to make an award and begin the feasibility study. And again, Faramarz Mokhtari is the project manager. We will be going up to the community at some point there. But at the end of that feasibility study, there is a point in time where we're going to get a cost estimate. So location and a construction cost estimate are the two big things we're waiting for, so that everybody can figure out how we're going to fund construction and do we have a location and can we obtain the property for a location. Okay, those are the big unknowns here. So then we suggest that perhaps we're going to have in January 2023 or so, January, February 2023, the draft feasibility study complete and go to the mayor and council sometime January, February-ish of 2023. Then if everything goes well, if we have a location, we will move forward. Now, typically, we do not advance design past 60% until we have that property or that right-of-way in hand. And the reason is, if something goes south and we don't get it, we don't want to take the design all the way to 100%. We want to have a chance to make changes and make adjustments. So we're hoping that we can have 60% done in June of 2023. Okay, and then we're going to have to figure out where the right-of-way is coming from. And that's the big wild card, if you would. We're going to be working the right-of-way in the property as we go along, but that's the big wild card. And if all goes swimmingly, construction complete could be sometime September 2026, we estimate. Of course, need right-of-way, need the money for construction, and everything else has to go swimmingly. The good news is we do have our eye on some possible federal grants for construction of this project. Okay, the IIJA, the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, is coming out, and they've been talking about that for a long time, several months now. But right now, they're starting to make the announcements for grants. They're starting to say, here's the criteria, here's who can apply, here's what you can apply for. And there is one grant perhaps suited for this, which is called Reconnecting Communities. Communities that have been cut off because of interstate highways, because of railroads, because of major roads. And that is exactly what we're trying to do here, reconnect Twinbrook to the rest of the community on the other side of the tracks. So we have our eye on that one. We also have our eye on possible federal earmarks for some money for next year. But before we can do that, we need to get further along in design. We got to get past feasibility. We got to get a construction cost estimate to demonstrate we can do it. So that is where we are. Congratulations, the mayor and council are, I haven't seen a lot of pressure on one particular project, but let me tell you, Faramarz and I have a lot of pressure on us to deliver this project. we have heard loud and clear from the mayor and council, and we put it to them because we had the opportunity with this extra money in FY22, and we asked for the money. And now all of a sudden they start asking us, well, when are we going to get the property and everything? Nobody was asking about that before, but now the money is there for design. They are asking about that. So good news is I don't think we can move any faster than we are really right now. So with that good news, Faramarz will take any questions you have.
I have just a real quick question. Thank you for that. That's all sounds like wonderful, amazing news. So I think I can speak for a lot of us. We really appreciate that. One piece of background I think Craig briefly touched on, but I forgot to share in the introduction, is that yes, this also came up as part of BSL's Twinbrook Quarter project. So one thing that came up at the early design charrettes that BSL hosted as they were preparing the project years ago is many people from the neighborhood also said, well, this sounds like a great project. I mean, Wegmans, I'm sold, I'm on board, but how am I going to get there, right? You either have to drive on Twinbrook Parkway, go all the way up to Edmonston, or, cross on foot or bicycle on Edmonston and Twinbrook Parkway, which if anyone's done, is not very pleasant or safe. Of course, you can go through the metro, but the metro has always seemed a bit of a wild card recently with their troubles, and who knows what's going to happen with them in the future. So, that also spoke strongly for having an additional connection across the tracks. And so BSL did hear the neighborhood at that time, and they included in their plan a promise, so to speak, to provide a landing on one of their future buildings north of the metro, north of the WMATA's parking garage. And they had this fancy design concept that included a second entrance to the metro, and it looks all great on paper, but they were always very clear that they didn't control anything that happened on the neighborhood side. So when we requested the CIP for the study a year or so ago, we wanted to make sure that we knew there were challenges with BSL's vision, and we wanted all options to be studied all the way up Lewis, so we weren't constrained by one option that may not even be feasible. And so we wanted the study to be as broad as possible. So it's great to hear that you're doing that. And I guess, two specific questions about that I have is one, in the research you've done or the meetings you've had, is a tunnel even feasibility somewhere along, the study area, or does it have to be a bridge? I know tunnels can be expensive, but they also might seem like they could settle some of the issues that we're having with having landing spaces and ADA and that type of thing.
Yeah, so a tunnel is not being considered right now because it is cost prohibitive, number one. But secondly, you still need a landing spot for a tunnel because it has to come up out of the ground, and you still need that spot regardless. And so, the other problem is tunnels, if they're not used often and they're not frequented much, there is a negative vibe that it gives off. A lot of people don't like using tunnels because of safety reasons, etc. But right now, the tunnel is not being considered because the price is just going to blow everything away.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
now, I will tell you that the Twinbrook station, we recently met with WMATA, and they are starting a study of the Twinbrook station, and they are looking at capacity and stairways, etc. And I personally conveyed the wishes that the existing tunnel, remain open somehow, some way, 24/7. And they heard it, and I said, I want to be clear, I'm making a formal request here. And they said, okay. But the bottom line is, their problem may be solved with an extra staircase. And we have three agencies here trying to do different things. We got WMATA out there trying to do their thing, and their problem is vertical capacity. We have Twinbrook Quarter, which is BF Sol, and their motivation is to get people from their development to the metro station. And then we have the city, who is trying to represent what the neighborhood wants, okay? And I will tell you, I was under a lot of pressure in one meeting on April 1st to try to move our bridge location closer to where the metro is. And I said, sorry, we're going to study everything. And I don't think that's what the neighborhood wants. And so we've agreed to work together. But I think our interests are slightly different, to be quite honest with you.
Mike, if I
Yeah,
may
I mean,
also, sorry, if I may just also add about the tunnel, I think because of the impact to Vomada and CSX, tunnel would create far more difficulty in terms of achieving our timeline. That's why we're looking at bridge, beside the cost that Craig mentioned.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I agree, and we maybe this is something to discuss in more detail later, but you know, it certainly seems to make sense not to have a second crossing too close to the metro, but anything even in that light industrial area, which I think is where BF Saul was originally intending the bridge to be, on the very north end of the metro platform. You know, it's better than nothing, and it's certainly a huge time savings. I mean, I think I timed it out once, you know, just walking from the corner of Alpine and Lewis down through the metro back up to where Twinbrook Quarter would be, you know, that's like almost 10 minutes out of your way. It doesn't seem that far, but it's actually almost 10 minutes to walk out of your way, as if you could just sort of keep walking straight through the light industrial area and cross then. You know, so it's not like, yeah, you know, that's a kill the deal, but, you know, also having something further north, maybe the northern end of the light industrial area, or, you know, I know there's looks like some type of abandoned right away around Brook Drive, like, you know, those are all feasible too. So otherwise, you know, yeah, so I'll leave it at that and open the floor for any questions or comments.
You got Sarah Salazar has a hand up, and then Vincent.
All right, Sarah.
Hi there. Apologies in advance if you hear some texts coming in. I'm using my phone for this meeting. So I remember I attended the meeting in which I believe it was BF Saul representatives came and talked to us about the possibility of this bridge. And I asked them at the end of the meeting, they had questions, and I said, have you considered approaching the vendors who you know as of now will be occupying your retail space in terms of their interest to contribute to this effort? You know, it's in their best interest to increase, you know, the traffic of customers, and we would be some of the most regular customers because, you know, people could easily walk across the bridge like that and not occupy their parking spaces, leave those parking spaces available for others who have to cross Rockville Pike and other farther away places. And so when I heard the description just a little while ago that the parties that we're considering are BF Saul, Metro, and the city / neighborhood, it makes me think that we're not considering part of the equation, which is all of those vendors that want us to go over there and, you know, patronize their businesses. And so I'm going to ask the city representatives here, what is the possibility that the vendors could be approached? You know, Wegmans, I don't know who the other ones are, but I'm sure there's other known vendors who will be occupying the space over at Twinbrook Quarter. How could they contribute to finding the right of way and contributing to the construction costs? It seems like that's an opportunity that would be missed if we didn't even ask them.
Well, that's a very good question. And I will tell you that fingers have been pointing at everybody else in this whole thing since Twinbrook Quarter started talking about coming here. At one point, the mayor kept coming to me and saying, hey, I understand Twinbrook Quarter is going to give us a landing spot and build the bridge. And I said, no, I just talked to them several weeks ago. And everybody was confused because they were hearing different things from different people. And I'll be honest with you, BF Saul represents those vendors. BF Saul represents Wegmans because they're the ones developing it. And they're coming to the city, asking the city to pay construction of the bridge, not to get you into their development, to get the development people into the metro station. That's what their interest is. So we've already explored that pretty extensively. We asked them to help pay for the bridge. They're asking us to help pay for their bridge. And it's a multiple party where we're all at slightly different odds. And so we need to make sure we are exploring what's best for the neighborhood, and perhaps Wegmans and BF Sol can figure out what's best for them. And there is a possibility that WMATA might put a second entrance in, and we promised BF Sol that we would represent their interest with WMATA. But the bottom line is, I'm not sure there's a sweet spot where we all can find the same location. If there is, we'll find it during the feasibility study. But for me, I have chased this tail so many times in so many different directions. I've agreed that their interest, and they agreed to, their interest is slightly different than ours. And my interest is your interest, because you have pressed upon the mayor and council the need to get there. And so from right now, I had to stand back to them and said, I don't think we're talking about the same project in the same location. And we're going to move forward with our feasibility. They tried to get me to include in our feasibility study a location for them to get to the metro station. I said, I can't pay for that. I don't have extra money for that. So we got to watch out who we're talking to and what their interests are.
May I ask a follow-up question? Sorry, it's just, you say that BF Sol represents the vendors, but is there any opportunity at all to speak directly to the vendors? Because I feel like it seems a little bit of a stretch. I guess I'd have to see it myself to believe it, that, you know, bigwigs at Wegmans are okay with this developer representing them in this situation or other situations of interest to the community. I just wonder, has anyone actually reached out directly to Wegmans to ask them if they're interested in contributing in any way to this?
The answer is no. Wegmans does not own the property. BF Sol owns the property. They're going to be the property owner. So Wegmans is a tenant of BF Sol, and Wegmans is talking to their property owner, which is BF Sol. And they are convinced. Matter of fact, I received an email today from BF Sol, and they told me that they're convinced that the foot traffic and our feasibility will bear out that the foot traffic going from their development to the metro station is far exceeding what will come over the bridge from your neighborhood. So that's their interest, and they're trying to convince me. So you know, the tenants, they want people in their shops, and so we have to assume that BF Sol is talking to Wegmans, which I know they are, because they all along the development, they were talking to the city and they were advocating for what Wegmans wanted. And we never talked to anybody from Wegmans, but oh my Lord, we got pressure from BF Sol to do what Wegmans wanted. So that's the way it works in this development. Wegmans is not going to own the property.
That makes sense.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification. And I do just want to thank you. I should have said that at the beginning. I do appreciate how much you've advocated, and all the rest of the city representatives have advocated for us on this. And I'm very thankful at how far you've gotten with it. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah. And I'll just add that, you know, I think it'd be beneficial maybe if we're brought in a little earlier to these discussions, because in addition to discussions we have with the city, we've also had discussions with BSL over the years. And I mean, I feel like I can confidently say that we have understood their position all along, which is that, you know, they had a vision that connected their property to the metro with a landing in one of their buildings, which seemed like a fine location, but we wanted to make sure that all locations were studied, that, you know, we don't, and BSL has also been very clear from the beginning that other than the landing, they were making no promises to pay for this bridge, although we have talked to them about using any influence they have to help us find money to pay for the bridge. So I think we understand what you're saying about what you're hearing from them, but It doesn't entirely jive with, I think, with what we've talked about as a neighborhood, or what BF Sol has told us about the particular location or their involvement in it. So I just wanted to clarify that piece. Vincent, I see your hands up, and then Marissa.
Yeah, hi. So this is a phased development. The first phase is underway now, and it's at the southern end of this whole 18-acre complex or 18-acre site. Those other phases may not come for, this is I think a 30-year window on this. So if the agreed upon landing site on the west side of the tracks on the BF Sol side is north of this first phase here, to what extent, I guess, would the timing and the sequencing of the phases play into what design is chosen for this, or where it's located, really? In other words, are we going to have to wait 10 years for them to go on to the second phase of the project because that's where the landing site is going to be? How does that play into this?
Excellent question. I didn't think I understood it at first, but your ending made it crystal clear. Yeah, I'm not waiting for phase 3 to build this bridge. I'm not waiting for phase 3 of Twinbrook Quarter development. They can dedicate, if we need land from BF Sol, they can dedicate it to us anytime before they come in for site development review. And we know where things are going, and we know where there is a potential horizontal, east to west roadway or a walkway that we want to connect our bridge to get out to Rockville Pike. We know where a lot of it is because they had to show it to us. So we have those plans. We're going to give them to our consultant. We're going to make sure that this is done right. And then if it lands, ideally where they're already putting the street and we need a little bit more land, we're going to approach them and ask them for it. And, to some degree, we have, I'll be honest with you, I think we have the upper hand. We're the city. You got to come in to get approvals. And the master plan, the 2040 plan, comprehensive plan now, approved August 2nd, 2021, has this bridge in it. So they cannot get an approval that makes this bridge impossible to build. So we have a little bit of influence here. Plus, we're the city and we have condemnation authority. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that. And they know it. So, to some degree, they're really asking us to locate our bridge closer to them, and they're asking us to pay the construction cost of it. What are they doing? I don't like deals like that. So we'll see. Perhaps they come in and say, if you move it closer, we'll pay some of it. Perhaps that tone changes a little bit, but that's what's going to have to happen. But we're looking out for a connection between the Twinbrook community and the other side of the tracks. And we have told our consultant that somewhere about midway between Edmonston and Twinbrook Parkway is about the first starting point we should be looking for. And we should be deviating from that midpoint only when it makes sense that the land's available there, or the connection's better there, or this or that, and the other thing. But we're not looking near Twinbrook Parkway, and we're not looking near Edmonston.
Thank you. All right, Marissa, then James.
I would be, as both FM and Jonathan Goldsmith, who is on here as well, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about it from a pedestrian perspective, and talk about the vital need for this. And Mike touched on it, the fact that it is actually extends the time it takes for us to get to the other side. Sounds like a bad chicken crossing the road joke, but it's not. But that's for like healthy people, walking, who have no sort of mobility issues. There is a practical reality to how difficult it is for people with mobility impairments and disabilities to even make that journey. And we know that there, we don't have the most ideal situations right now on Twinbrook Parkway and at Edmonston for a variety of reasons. So this really is probably our best bet, a safe way for the people in the neighborhood to get over there. Then we'll come back to you and we'll ask for a pedestrian bridge over Veers Mill so that the north of Twinbrook can get over there. But that'll be for another meeting. But I guess, let me admit Lou, who just arrived. I guess my question is, because I agree with everything that Mike has said, and I am very grateful for all of everybody's work and continuing work, is that, you know, I to a certain extent, I never suspected that BFSOL was ever going to be quote unquote on our side. I think that you can be in a productive relationship with somebody, but that does not mean that you are totally for the same team, you know? And so I held no illusions when we were very much advocating, you know, for Twinbrook Quarter. And I think we have that same view of the bridge, because we've seen people promise big developments on the other side of the tracks that didn't really come to fruition. So that the bridge should be independent to a certain extent, because we're not quite sure what the future is going to bring. And I think from a pedestrian safety perspective, as we look to how can we make it safer for people to get around, and make it safer for people who want to go to various amenities, like the ones that already exist on Rockville Pike. And, you know, the closest Starbucks to me is right over there. So I'd like to be able to get over there quickly and safely. But, you know, we also have to think of the future, right? And if I can't imagine that BFSOL, I can, but I would hope that they wouldn't be so short-sighted to believe that, you know, 30 years from now, everybody's going to be driving as much as they are right now. Like, I think we're going to be looking at different ways of transit. And I think any sort of way that we can facilitate that is helpful. And then finally, I'm going to give my shout out to Sarah Salazar, who we've talked about this before too. And I think Sarah, and actually I think Chuck will probably get a kick out of this. I differ a little bit from our current president in that I've never thought of this as anything but a bridge. I think it should always be a bridge. And there's a couple of reasons. One, if you've ever been or anywhere near the DuPont Circle tunnel, that was always the scariest thing, and nobody wants to go in a tunnel at night. So there's that. But two, a bridge allows us to have actually a green space. We could find ways of incorporating plants and vegetation in ways that are, like, you know, productive and would be good for pollinators. And my other shout out to Sarah is that, you know, I'm envisioning what would be an awesome bridge that would have enough open space so that we could have a community mural. You know, there's always a lot of unofficial artwork along the tracks. It would be nice to see something that's intentional that begins to capture our community. So, but thank you to Craig. Thank you, as always, to the wonderful FM, and I hope that you keep us all posted. And we're here all step of the ways in whatever way we can be helpful.
Thank you for that, Marissa. I want to say quite bluntly, and that's the type of person I am. I want to say quite bluntly that we are going to need your and your community's help going forward, because we may get into a situation where we need to do the tough thing and get land acquired for this. And the community has to really want this to make this happen. You know, I'm prepared to go it without BFSOL. I told them all we need is a little spot for landing. And I think eventually we're gonna be successful. I think they need us more than we need them, quite frankly. And so we're representing what we believe is your view. But I think, Marissa, I'm thanking you because you have just given me back what I was hoping we would need, because we're in meetings with BFSOL and they're talking about foot traffic and they're trying to convince me that there's going to be more foot traffic going back and forth to the metro from their development. And they're trying to convince me almost like it's a business decision that when we build this bridge and it costs X million dollars to connect your community, that it's almost like you're not going to have enough people crossing it to make it worth it. That's not what we're about here in government all the time. We're about solving a problem. And if the mayor and council want to solve it and they know the cost, then perhaps we can't measure it in how many people cross divided by how much it is. Okay. And so that's what makes us different as a government. And that's what makes us responsive. So I appreciate what you're saying, because you're empowering Faramarz and I in these tough meetings we're in to keep charging forward for the interest of the community and not to give in to some other use unless it is compatible with our use. And I thank you for that. And I ask your community to continue to be with us, because I can tell you that property acquisition, it took us almost 5 years, 4 or 5 years on Baltimore Road project. Yeah. It took us a long time. It's not always easy. Okay. Yeah. And you know, I've been on both ends of it. I'm on one end of it with SHA and Federal Highway on the 270 project, and we're on the other end is needing it. And I'll tell you, it's never clean and never. So I appreciate what you're saying, because I think you're saying keep going and do what's in best for you. And this bridge that we're looking at is not just a pedestrian one, it's a bicycle one. Faramarz has already looked into bicycle rails where somebody can pick their bike up, get it on the rail, and push their bikes up the steps, etc. We've looked at all the current things. We think this is going to be a good bridge for the community, even if you can't count the number of people the dollars divided by the number of people and arrive at a good number.
Yeah. No, and actually you tweaked me on something else too, that they're going to use the amenities on our side to push people to buy into Twinbrook Quarter. So they're going to look and be like, you'll be so close to Rock Creek Park, because we are close to, you know, the actual walking path of Rock Creek. So how do they think people are going to get there? Like, you know, we've got the greenery, you've got the location, let's work together. There, you know, I don't want to see one promo piece from them touting, you know, walking to, you know, large green parks and, you know, stuff like that. I don't know if they really care about that, but I was just thinking it's a mutual beneficial relationship, as it should be.
That's a good comment, and I think you'll probably end up being right.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to, Marissa, thank you. It's delightful to work with you on these projects, as always. And I think with your help, this bridge can become an icon for Twinbrook area, and we can make it.
Definitely, I agree. Thank you, FM.
And hey, if they get their second metro entrance and we get our bridge, then everybody wins. Let them go forward and build their second metro entrance. No one's going to stop them. Mm-hmm. That would benefit us too indirectly, but definitely want the other crossing as well. So, all right. And hey, Marissa, if tunnel versus bridge is the biggest point of disagreement, I think we're doing all right. So
I think that really is all that we have, Mike. That really is.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee the bridge gets built first before the tunnel.
I'm sure you're right. All right. Any other questions? I know James had his hand up. Unfortunately, he just let me know he had to step away. His young one has woken up from supposed to be their night's sleep, so he is tending to that.
I can lower his hand.
I see Elizabeth LaFrance. You have your hand up.
Hi. Hi everybody. I grew up in Twinbrook. I've just moved back a year ago, and I'm old enough to remember walking down Alpine and crossing the railroad tracks. And that's why I'm here. I'm so excited to be able to do that again. So I just want to thank you all for making this a project, and you know, Marissa and Craig and Faramarz and everybody for pushing this, because it's so important to our community, and you know, having done it, I want it back. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that.
You have some great people who can come out when push comes to shove and help this thing get across the finish line. I just that story from Elizabeth, I think it's worth more than anything else.
Okay. Yeah, if only Roy Rogers still had their mocha milkshakes, but
Oh, that's just mean.
I know. Sorry. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Sarah, is that your hand from earlier? Or do you have a new comment?
I have a new comment.
Okay.
I'll make it. Yeah, I just wanted to, I mean, I know we're just, preaching to the choir here, basically, but adding more fuel to the fire or arguments to our case, I just wanted to point out that adding such connectivity, adding this pedestrian bridge would be in line with our climate action plan because it would reduce GHG emissions of all of us who would be going in our cars otherwise, because it otherwise would not be practical, as Marissa was so eloquently explaining. And also, so I've noticed in some of the city's publications that apparently at least part of Twinbrook is in a lower income area, relatively speaking, to other parts of Rockville. And so I just want to put out there that maybe it is also an environmental justice issue that we would not pursue such a bridge. And I'm just providing that as potential fuel to to argue our case further. So thank you again for all of your advocacy of this this project.
Ms. Salazar, actually the points you made are very valuable when we seek federal funds or other grants. Those are good points to make. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, any other questions or comments on this topic?
I want to end with Mike, if please, you have my commitment that I will continue pushing on this thing. And you're correct. What just happened with the mayor and council last night doesn't happen very often, if at all, since I've been here in 16 and a half years, where you come in and identify more money. And not only do you get the money you needed for the extra cost, but then you say, why don't you just give us 100% design? You've been asking for it. And basically I said, I don't want to hear it anymore. Just give us all the money. And they did it. So, it to some degree, the mayor and council have put up, and it doesn't happen this quickly at this point very often. So you clearly have mayor and council support. So we will make sure when we get to those critical points, we have you back engaged so that you can have your voice heard in case some people start, wavering on the support for this project.
Great. We really appreciate the update and all your advocacy on this. And as you can see, it's something that is wanted by many in the neighborhood. You have our support, and please keep us involved and keep us informed. So, all right. And thanks,
you,
Craig and FM. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. So that moves us along. As we mentioned earlier, April traditionally serves as our meeting to elect TSA officers for the year. So some of you probably know or remember, we changed the bylaw several years ago to limit each officer's term to no more than 2 consecutive years. We've been putting out notices in the Twine soliciting nominations, asking for people to volunteer who might be interested in serving the executive committee. We've been lucky to have a full set of executive officers for the last 4 years running. This year, I don't know if Lou's on the call or not. We've had 2 people who have to step away, Lou and his wife, Pat. Lou has served as treasurer and at-large South for the last 4 years. His wife, Pat, was a former TCA treasurer, and they've just been wonderful members of the executive board. They've also been trying to retire for the last 4 years, and they have finally successfully retired, and they are hitting the road and touring America. So he is going to step away, and I just wanted to thank Lou and his wife, Pat, for all of their service to the neighborhood over the last few years. And then Hallie, who many of you remember, Hallie Holmes is our current secretary, has a newborn, so she and her husband Ben are enjoying the highs and the lows of new parenthood. So she has stepped away this year. we were so thrilled to have two people come forward and express interest in becoming more involved. So Jake Rose, who I see is on the call, he was interested in the treasurer position, and then Mary Van Valgoy has also expressed interest in serving as the at-large North. So we publicized the nominations in the last week, which are Vincent Russo for president, James Hedrick for vice president, Jake Rose as treasurer, myself as secretary, because this is my second year as president, Marissa Valeri as at-large South, and then Mary for at-large North. So those are the nominations. We didn't receive any other nominations prior to the meeting. So according to our bylaws and the Roberts rules, we'll now ask if there are any nominations from the floor.
Anyone? Come
Please.
on.
Going once. So
you know you want
those
to.
those nominations fill all of the current executive positions. So if there aren't any nominations from the floor, then we will have this by acclamation. Going once, going twice. All right. Well, those are your new TC. Yeah.
Wait,
Those are your
I
new
heard
TC.
something.
That was James. Oh, hey, James. Welcome back.
Sorry, I'm back. I got I got CJ back to sleep. So sorry, everyone. I had to step out and put my 9-month-old back to sleep.
Aw.
It was cute.
All right. Well, congratulations. That's my acclamation. I think also by our bylaws, as soon as the election, the installation of officers are immediate. So I am handing the gavel to Mr. Russo.
Well, thank you, Mike, and let's give Mike lots of appreciation for his outstanding leadership the last few years, and I'm glad he's sticking around. And welcome
COVID
to
president.
Yeah. Welcome to Mary and to Jake as well for joining. I think we are blessed with a wonderful neighborhood and a long tradition here in TCA. TCA goes back to the neighborhood's founding in the at least in the 1950s. I think we've got some records. So it's a long tradition, and I'm delighted to be the steward of that, and look forward to working with the board and the members and the residents of the neighborhood. And I think just from my own observation, we have a lot of new residents too. People who are I've seen a lot of new faces walking around in the last few years, and many of them are young people with families, and I think that really speaks to the vitality of the neighborhood. And we even have some Boomerang residents. It sounds like Elizabeth was left and came back after couldn't stay away. So that's another wonderful endorsement we heard tonight. So that's great. Thank you for this, and we'll look forward to getting started, or keep things going here, because we have a lot of momentum.
Not to butt in, Mr. President, do we want to give Jake and Mary a chance to introduce themselves real quick?
Please.
We'll start with Jake.
Hi, everyone. Jake Rose. I'm on the south side of Twinbrook. Moved here about 1.5 years ago. My partner, Casey, and we've got a squirrely little dog that we walk around all the time. But from Rockville, went to Rockville High School, and really excited to participate. Thanks for electing me. So glad to be here.
Happy to have you on board. And Mary, are you still on the call? There you are.
Yeah. So I'm Mary Finbalgoy, and my husband and I, Max, have been residents here since 2001. We live on the corner of Twinbrook Parkway and Meadow Hall. And we just really have loved Rockville and have been involved very much in it. I was formerly executive director of Peerless Rockville. So if you want to know more about TCA, I know all about that. John Tyner has a full collection of TCA stuff. But anyways, I'm very pleased to be on the executive committee. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary.
Welcome.
All right. Well, are there any other items anyone else would like to bring up? Questions, comments, requests?
It's very dark. I don't have my light on. I just thought I might take an opportunity to raise an issue that happened to me just a few days ago, and it has to do with pedestrian safety. So I was coming home kind of around rush hour, heading north on Twinbrook Parkway, turning left onto Ardennes. And so there's a lot of traffic coming the other way on Twinbrook Parkway. And I have the green light. I'm going to turn left. I'm looking for an opportunity to make that left before the light changes and in between cars coming towards me, right? Well, a bicyclist was coming down the sidewalk on the Twinbrook side of the street. And she was riding fairly fast. And I made a turn, made the left-hand turn onto Ardennes rather quickly, and we almost had a collision. And I realized my responsibility. I don't know if she realized her responsibility, but it's a blind spot. She's riding her bike on the other side of the road, and she has a green light. She has the walk sign, and is heading, but she's coming pretty fast. But I'm looking forward to make the left-hand turn. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So if in any situation you're talking about pedestrian safety in that area, I don't know what you can do about that, but it was kind of a dangerous situation.
Yeah, if it's okay,
Yeah.
President Russo. I'm sorry, Mike, I don't answer to you anymore. I answer to Vincent now. If it's okay. No, you've hit on an issue that that is one intersection that I haven't even begun to truly fight and advocate for some serious changes to, and some safety measures. The one thing I can tell you, because I've walked that stretch. So just as quick background, I'm a professional pedestrian. I don't drive. So I literally walk everywhere, or I take mass transit. That's all I do. And I'm cool with that. It's better for the environment for me. And so I've walked that stretch, and I can completely envision what you explained and how that happens at that intersection. The way that there's a couple of things that are going to be interesting. One is that the county, so Twinbrook Parkway, they're looking at both sides of it, even the Twinbrook side. The county is looking at protected bike lanes on Twinbrook Parkway. And the reason I know that this came up is because they're doing some other lighthouse tofu spot. They're going to be redeveloping that. And part of the redevelopment plans included protected bike lanes. And, I'm glad it was there to be like, okay, that's great for bicyclists, but what about making, slightly wider sidewalks too, so that, you don't have, to choose between being a pedestrian and being a bicyclist. But, with some of these infrastructure changes, it will be, you'll be a little bit more aware, I think, that there are bicyclists. And then once we have that infrastructure, we can look at things like DC has put into place that are actual traffic signals for bicyclists. And, some of these things that are to us are kind of common sense, but we just haven't even begun to look at that because we don't have a good infrastructure yet for bicyclists, let alone a good infrastructure for pedestrians. you know, but we try to work together. So I'm a co-founder of the Rockville Pedestrian Advocacy Committee, but we work really closely with the Rockville Bicycle Advisory Committee. And so because we have a lot of shared interests, and that's actually why I was joking with Faramarz, because he used to staff our meetings. And we kind of bridge the gap between, you know, the kind of the mathematical aspects of traffic and transportation with the more sociological aspects of human behavior and how we move about in these spaces. And I think you have to have that connection. So this is a really long-winded way of saying, I think that there's a solution coming. I think this is something I am definitely going to bring up at our next RPAC meeting, which is soon, actually. And I can also put in our next edition of the Twine or the Thread when the next meeting is too, because we're always trying to get more input from folks and lift these issues up, because we often have members, city council members, and we have city staff, and occasionally I've had the mayor attend our meetings. And so I think we have a good ear for people listening to these concerns.
I don't know how the technology works, but I'm thinking after that experience, I was a little shaken, as was the bicyclist, but it seems like it would be primarily a rush hour issue. And also I was thinking, if I can turn left, the pedestrian, that crosswalk, the people shouldn't be able to cross. Vice versa, if they're crossing, I shouldn't be allowed to turn left, at least during rush hour. And if there's some way of the traffic signal communicating that at that intersection. And I think I've seen in other places where you have, you get an arrow, there's an arrow there to make that left, but then once the arrow's gone, the light remains green, which would allow people to continue to turn left. But if there was a red arrow there, which I would presume means, okay, no, you can't turn left, even though people are going straight on to your right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an easy solution or.
I think it'll be a combination of new technology and probably signage too. That there's clearly states that you cannot make the left during, so-called hours, or if you don't have the arrow. But yeah, it's definitely something I can follow up with you on and advocate for, at least a study, so we can see maybe the best ways that we can work on that intersection. It's a little tricky. It's a little coordination between the city and the county, but that's an issue. As my colleagues on the executive committee can attest to, that is an issue I actually revel in and enjoy, trying to make the city and the county work together. I watched a lot of Sesame Street as a child. You guys can do this together. Come on, cooperation. But I'll keep you posted, John. I'll keep everybody posted, but I'll let you know what they say too. Back to you, El Presidente Russo.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything? One other thing. I guess we've been knocking around and may be interested in hearing some feedback on too is perhaps returning to in-person meetings, or at least an occasional in-person meeting. I think there's certainly been some advantages to the virtual, but I think there's also maybe some desire to meet in person, and as the rec center expands its hours beginning next month. That is traditionally where we have met before the pandemic, and in person there at the rec center, and they've always been very good partners with us there. So I put that out there as a possibility that maybe some of our upcoming meetings at least, if we meet a few times a year, we can sprinkle a few in-person meetings in there as well, which might be welcomed.
Agreed.
All right, Mike, you want to wrap us up here?
Let's see.
Anything else?
Anybody else has anything else they want to bring up? Otherwise, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
No moved. I wanted to contribute. I've been silent.
Well, in that spirit, I'll second.
Hey, thank you,
Thanks,
Angelina.
All right. Congratulations again to Chuck on his much well-deserved Twinbrooker of the Year award. Congratulations to Jake and Mary, and we're looking forward to meeting you guys in person and working together in the future. And yep, stay alert for the next walk and talk announcements, which will be coming out very soon. And look forward to seeing everybody soon.
All right.
Good night.
Thanks,
Night,
everybody.
Congratulations, new officers.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Ann.
Bye, buddy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Good night, everybody.